We got a shell for Kino the Tundra. When we were thinking of selling the van and looking for our next vehicle, we knew we wanted a truck with a shell on it. The shell offers so much usability. Just like the van, we want a place that we can store gear, keep it dry, keep it locked up and safe, and sleep in here when needed. Now, the funny thing about Toyota Tundras is in 2007, the second generation Tundra began. And this is a 2018, even the 2019 models are 99% the same as the 2007. They haven't changed much. And Toyota gets a lot of flack for that. I really don't mind. It means the parts are time tested and a lot of compatibility between things. But one thing that's not compatible are little things like the hood, the front end looks different. And one thing I learned when shopping for shells is the beds are different. In 2014, Toyota changed the beds on these. They are longer. They've got that lip on the tailgate that every truck seems to have these days, and it's a lot deeper. Because of that, that makes finding shells for these very hard. Even though Toyotas sell a lot of trucks, they're nowhere near as much as like an F-150. So finding shells to match these is really hard, especially used shells. This shell was meant for a 07 to 2013 model, and as you can see, it doesn't quite fit. In fact, I can stick my fingers in there. It's about 2 inches too short, or in other words, the tailgate is 2 inches too long. And shells are a little different than they used to be. They now have this drip edge to like make it look that you can't tell that it's a shell. I never really was bothered when you could see the shell sitting on it, but whatever. But what this means is I need to clearance this to make the old shell fit on here. I picked this up for 300 bucks. It was super cheap, got a good deal. I'm gonna modify it. I'm gonna cut it, I'm gonna reshape it and make it work for this until I can order one for this. The sad news is not enough people are buying high-rise shells for the Tundras. These super tall ones with lots of clearance inside are not the cool thing to have, and it's really hard to sell. So Lear does not make them, ARE does not make them, Snug Top does not make them. In fact, there are only 2 companies in the whole world that make a fiberglass high-rise shell for the 14 and up Tundras, which is really a shame. The bigger shame is they're all on the East Coast, and none of them will ship it to me. This is tall enough that even with the decked system, I mean, I can still get in my drawers here, and it's tall enough I can fit bikes in there, and it's tall enough to sit up in there when we're camping. So, to make this fit, I'm gonna have to trim this edge off, and it's gonna ruin this shell, but it was cheap enough that it's okay. And I'm gonna have to trim this edge so it'll sit flat and I can scoot it up a little bit. Not perfect, not totally ideal, but for the price, it's gonna get us a shell, because the only other option are a custom-made aluminum shell, and I don't want to do that. I want it to kind of look, factory. I can't find my tape measure, so we're gonna measure with my thumb. All right, a little more than my thumb to get that to pop up forward, so it needs to go probably 2 inches. And right now it's actually fitting pretty good 2 inches back. It's kind of the same shape. Though this is really close, and that makes me nervous. I'm afraid it's gonna rub my paint. So I'm definitely gonna trim that anyway. So where this starts curving, I need it to come up, and I need to trim it off totally. So something like that. Yep, it's gonna be a little ugly, but it's gonna serve its purpose. This doesn't exactly fit right anyway. It's hitting here and it has a little gap here. I don't like my tailgate resting on my paint right here anyway, so that might be okay. So that means I'm also gonna have to trim this metal piece to fit in there. I might even have to trim it to there At least I've got a nice line there. I'm not a fiberglass pro. Here we go. Now I have fiberglass dust on the camera inside the place I was hoping to sleep tonight. Gross. But that actually worked quite well. It's funny, the guy I bought it from, he's like, I don't know your level of do-it-yourselfness, but have you ever heard of a Dremel tool? And I just had to laugh. He's like, I think a Dremel tool would be the perfect tool. Dremel tool is not heavy duty enough for this. It would work, but that is a much better tool. Alright, so the idea is to get it totally flat anywhere it's gonna protrude on that. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Now I gotta do this side. That's done, kind of sloppy, but it's gonna work. So pretty much anywhere it starts to come in, we need it flat. Let's see if this fits, pushing it back now. Alright, check it out. It actually worked. Right here, it's kind of resting on the paint. I don't like that one bit. There we go. So there, we got the gap we wanted. How about on this side? On this side, we got the gap we wanted. I'd actually feel better just sanding the whole thing off and making it totally flush. Hey, look at that. Actually fits okay there and looks all right on the front. So we know the overall bed shapes hasn't changed a ton on the Tundra. That's great. Okay. So nothing's rubbing. I could tie that down and use it like that tonight after a lot of vacuuming. Now, here's the tricky part. Yeah, that's hitting. And I want that to be able to close. And so what I want it to be is at the bottom of this and the bottom of that. So let's see if I shut this. That'll be right at this line. So I want to cut it right at that line. Alright. How am I going to do that? Jigsaw? What do you guys think? Jigsaw? I think jigsaw is probably the best. It's aluminum. Aluminum kind of cuts like wood, kind of. So I think jigsaw is best. Okay, I've marked this so I know which one to cut, because sometimes I would totally be that doctor who amputates the wrong leg. I am so bad at details, so if I mark it, I know where to cut it. Plus, I need it to be like a couple millimeters on this side of the line. Here, you can see it here. If I cut it too close to that line, I'll split those two. When we were looking at installing the roof, a high top on the van, we were going to use this. These are scissors for metal. So I'm going to try that on this. I've never even used this tool. Let's see how it goes. Oh, this is amazing. These are my new favorite tool. Look at this thing go. Yeah, look at that. That is actually perfect. I gotta make it a little bit smoother and softer. Wow, what a cool tool. How am I gonna get that? Maybe like that. Yeah, look at that. I am so impressed. Perfect tool for the job, way better than a jigsaw. And look at that, that is close. I think it might even be touching right there. Hey, hey, does it look bad? Yes. Is it usable? 100%. It's gonna keep me dry, and that is gonna work. Sweet! That's a good feeling. All right, I'm just gonna round that corner with my next favorite tool, the Metabo grinder. That tool I have totally abused. The tricky thing about this that I learned the hard way when I was working on my 79 Toyota is that metal shavings get hot and melt into glass and etch into glass, so you don't want any of these to touch glass. Okay, I've been in a little bit of a rush for this because my friends and I are going to Moab in an hour. So I wanted to be able to sleep in here because it's starting to get cold. And mission accomplished. The only thing I need to do left is put some of that tape, that foam tape in between, clamp it down. I still want to smooth this out by hand with sandpaper, and then it's done. So that is how you completely destroy a shell that was meant for an older Tundra, but make it work with yours to get by until you can drive 3 days drive to Pennsylvania to get one made, color matched and everything to your truck.